made perfect. And the word perfect means there was a completion to God's plan. Summarize it this way. This is amazing, everybody in the Old Testament, they were looking forward and were faithful. They were looking forward to what God was up to what God was up to what God was up to. And they were faithful even though they didn't see the promise and all the plans come together. We, on the other hand, are looking back. And yet, we're so fearful. We're looking back. God promised Abraham. God fulfilled it through Christ. Jesus was raised from the dead. The church was launched, survived, and thrived. And here we are 2,000 years later. There is so much evidence for us. There is so much reason for us to bear down on our faith. We have absolutely no reason in the world to be fearful. We should be the most fearless, confident, humble people on the planet. Not because of what God has promised, but because of what God has done. We're on the other side of that promise. So now he says to his first century audience, so let me tell you what to do in light of all these things that have happened. So he says, therefore, in light of what God has done, in light of the fact that God kept his promise, in light of the fact that all these men and women were faithful even before God kept his promise, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, he's talking about all of these Old Testament saints. And for us, it's even better. Because our cloud of witnesses is all the people in the New Testament that brought us the New Testament. The Apostle Paul, who risked his life over and over and over. And Peter, who was eventually crucified by Nero because of his faith. And Matthew, and the people that went all around the Mediterranean rim, sharing this extraordinary news. That's our cloud of witnesses. And then beyond that generation, the 2nd and 3rd century Christians. And then the 15th and 16th century Christians that translated the New Testament into the languages of the people of Europe and into English. The reason we're able to read the Bible in our own language is because there was a group of men specifically who risked their lives, and many were burned at the stake and died because they remained faithful to God. And they are part of this extraordinary cloud of witnesses that says God can be trusted. It is worth it, and it is working. And so he says to us, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, what should we do? And he says, let us hide and whine and complain and hoard our resources just in case. Put our Bibles in a drawer. Build bomb shelters, purchase ammunition. Blame the cops, blame the president, blame the teachers, blame our mamas. Demand our rights, right? Build a wall, tax the rich, play it safe, find somebody to sue. Take back our country and pray that Jesus returns so we don't have to suffer. Did I miss anybody? Can you imagine how we sound to this great cloud of witnesses? You're worried about what? You're scared of who? You're nervous about, your anxiety ridden because of what? Can you, listen, not even the great cloud of witnesses, forget them. Can you imagine how we must sound and how we must look to the Christians in Syria now, in Iraq right now? To Christians that are crowded into refugee camps and they wonder where their daughters are and they are afraid to imagine what has happened to their daughters, and they get on beside their little cots at night on their knees and they beg God for mercy, and they continue to believe and they continue to believe and they continue to believe.